Hi everyone, I'm Miss Caldwell, the school psychologist at South, and I am going to be reading chapters 28 to 30, which you should be reading at home or listening to on Thursday, May 12th. So, chapter 28, To the Castle. Years passed. Meg spent them scrubbing the kettle and tending the sheep and cleaning the hut and collecting innumerable, uncountable, extremely painful clouts to the year. In the evening, spring or winter, summer or fall, Meg stood in the field as the sun set, hoping that the royal family would pass before her again. Gore, I would like to see that little princess another time, wouldn't I? And her little pony, too, with his tippy-toed feet. This hope, this wish that she would see the princess again was lodged deep in Meg's heart. Lodged firmly right next to it was the hope that she, Miggery Sow, would someday become a princess herself. The first of Meg's wishes was granted, in a roundabout way, when King Philip outlawed soup. The king's men were sent out to deliver the grim news and to collect from the people of the kingdom of Dor their kettles, their spoons, and their bowls. Reader, you know exactly how and why this law came to pass, so you would not be as surprised as Uncle was when one Sunday a soldier of the king knocked on the door of the hut that Meg and Uncle and the sheep shared and announced that soup was against the law. "How's that?" said Uncle. "By royal order of King Philip," repeated the soldier. "I am sent here to tell you that soup has been outlawed in the kingdom of Dor. You will, by order of the king, never again consume soup, nor will you think of it or talk about it. And I, as one of the king's loyal servants, am here to take from you your spoons, your kettle, and your bowls." "But that can't be," said Uncle. "Nevertheless, it is. What'll we eat? And what'll we eat it with?" "Cake," suggested the soldier, "with a fork." "And wouldn't that be lovely," said Uncle, "if we could afford to eat cake?" The soldier shrugged. "I am only doing my duty. Please hand over your spoons, your bowls, and your kettle." Uncle grabbed hold of his beard. He let go of his beard and grabbed the hair on his head. "Unbelievable!" he shouted. "I suppose next the king will be wanting my sheep and my girl, seeing as those are the only possessions I have left." "Do you own a girl?" said the soldier. "I do," said Uncle, "a worthless one, but still she is mine." "Ah," said the soldier, "that, I am afraid, is against the law too. No human may own another in the kingdom of Dor. But I paid for her fair and square with a good laying hen and a handful of cigarettes and a blood-red tablecloth." "No matter," said the soldier, "it is against the law to own another. Now you will hand over to me, if you please, your spoons, your bowls, your kettle, and your girl. Or if you choose not to hand over these things, then you will come with me to be imprisoned in the castle dungeon. Which will it be?" And that is how Miggery Sow came to be sitting in a wagon full of soup-related items next to a soldier of the king. "Do you have parents?" said the soldier. "I will return you to them." "Eh? Ma!" shouted the soldier. "Dead," said Meg. "Your pa?" shouted the soldier. "I ain't seen him since he sold me." "Right, I'll take you to the castle then." "Gore," said Meg, looking around the wagon in confusion. "You want me to paddle?" "To the castle," shouted the soldier. "I'll take you to the castle." "The castle? Where the itty-bitty princess lives?" "That's right." "Gore," said Meg. "I aim to be a princess too someday." "That's a fine dream," said the soldier. He clucked to the horse and tapped the reins, and they took off. "I'm happy to be going," said Meg, putting a hand up and gently touching one of her cauliflower ears. "Might just as well be happy, seeing as it doesn't make a difference to anyone but you if you are or not." said the soldier. "We will take you to the castle, and they will set you up fine. You will no longer be a slave. You will be a paid servant." "Eh?" said Meg. "You will be a servant," shouted the soldier, "not a slave." "Gore," said Meg, satisfied. "A servant I will be, not a slave." She was 12 years old. Her mother was dead. Her father had sold her. Her uncle, who wasn't her uncle at all, had clouded her until she was almost deaf. And she wanted, more than anything in the world, to be a little princess wearing a golden crown and riding a high-stepping white horse. Reader, do you think that it is a terrible thing to hope when there's really no reason to hope at all? Or is it, as the soldiers said about happiness, something that you might just as well do, since in the end, it really makes no difference to anyone but you? Chapter 29. Start with a kersey and finish with the thread. Miggery Sal's luck continued. On her first day on the job as a castle servant, she was sent to deliver a spool of red thread to the princess. "Mind," said the head of the serving staff, a dour woman named Louise, "she is royalty, so you must make sure you curtsy." "How's that?" shouted Meg. "You must curtsy," shouted Louise. "Gore," said Meg. "Yes'm." She took the spool of thread from Louise and made her way up the golden stairs to the princess's room, talking to herself as she went. "Here I am, off to see the princess. Me, Miggery Sal, seeing the princess up close and personal-like. And first off, I must curtsy because she is the royalty." At the door to the princess's room, Meg had a sudden crisis of confidence. She stood a moment, clutching the spool of thread and muttering to herself. "Now, how did that go?" she said. "Give the princess the thread and then give her the kersey?" No, first the kersey, then the thread. That's it. Gore, that's right. That's the order. Start with the kersey and finish with the thread." She knocked on the princess's door. "Enter," said the P. Meg, hearing nothing, knocked again. "Enter," said the P. And Meg, still hearing nothing, knocked yet again. "Maybe," she said to herself, "the princess ain't to home." But then the door was flung wide, and there was the princess herself, staring right at Miggery Sal. "Gore," said Meg, her mouth hanging open. "Hello," said the P. "Are you the new serving maid? Have you brought me my thread?" "Kersey I must," shouted Meg. She gathered her skirts and dropped the spool of thread, stuck a foot out, stepped on the spool, and rocked back and forth for what seemed like quite a long time, both to the watching princess and the rocking Meg, and finally fell to the floor with a Meg-ish thud. "Whoopsie," said Miggery Sal. The P could not help it. She laughed. "That's all right," she said to Meg, shaking her head. "It's the spirit of the thing that counts." "How's that?" shouted Meg. "It's the spirit of the thing that counts," shouted P. "Thank you, miss," said Meg. She got slowly to her feet. She looked at the princess. She looked down at the floor. "First the kersey and then the thread," Meg muttered. "Pardon?" said P. "Gore," said Meg, "the thread." She dropped to her knees and hands and knees to locate the spool of thread. When she found it, she stood back up and offered it to P. "I brought you your thread, didn't I?" "Lovely," said the princess as she took the thread from Meg. "Thank you so much. I cannot seem to hold on to a spool of red thread. Every one I have disappears somehow." "Are you making a thing?" asked Meg, squinting at the cloth in the P's hand. "I am making a history of the world, you know," said the P, "in tapestry. See? Here is my father, the king, and here he is playing the guitar, because that is something he loves to do and does quite well. And here is my mother, the queen, and she is eating soup because she loved soup." "Soup? Gore! That's against the law." "Yes," said the princess. "My father outlawed it because my mother died while she was eating it." "Your ma's dead?" Yes, said the pea. She died just last month. She bit her bottom lip to keep it from trembling. Ain't that the thing, said Meg. My ma's dead, too. How old were you when she died? Bold, was I? Said Meg, taking a step back away from the princess. I'm sorry, then. No, how old? How old were you? Shouted the pea. Not but 6, said Meg. I am sorry, said the princess. She gave Meg a quick, deep look of sympathy. How old are you now? 12 years. So am I, said the princess. We're the same age. What is your name? She shouted. Miggery Sow, but most just calls me Meg. And I saw you once before, princess. You passed me by on a little white horse. On my birthday it was, and I was in the field with Uncle's sheep, and it was sunset time. Did I wave to you? Asked the princess. Eh? Did I wave? Shouted the pea. Yes, nodded Meg. But you didn't wave back, said the princess. I did, said Meg, only you didn't see. Someday I will sit on a little white horse and wear a crown and wave. Someday, said Meg. And she put up a hand to touch her left ear. I will be a princess too. Really, said the pea. And she gave Meg another quick, deep look, but said nothing else. When Meg finally made her way back down the golden stairs, Louise was waiting for her. How long, she roared, did it take you to deliver a spool of thread to the princess? Too long? Guessed Meg. That's right, said Louise, and she gave Meg a good clout to the ear. You are not destined to be one of our star servants. That is already abundantly clear. No, ma'am, said Meg. That's all right, though, because I am to be a princess. You, a princess? Don't make me laugh. This, reader, was a little joke on Louise's part, as she was not a person who laughed, ever, not even at a notion as ridiculous as Miggery Sow becoming a princess. Chapter 30, In the Dungeon. At the castle, for the first time in her young life, Meg had enough to eat, and eat she did. She quickly became plump and then plumper still. She grew round and rounder and bigger. Only her head stayed small. Reader, as the teller of this tale, it is my duty from time to time to utter some hard and rather disagreeable truths. In the spirit of honesty, then, I must inform you that Meg was the tiniest bit lazy. And 2, she was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That is, she was a bit slow-witted. Because of these shortcomings, Louise was hard-pressed to find a job that Miggery Sow could effectively perform. In quick succession, Meg failed as a lady-in-waiting. She was caught trying on the gown of a visiting duchess. A seamstress, she sewed the cloak of the riding master to her own frock and ruined both. And as a chambermaid, sent to clean a room, she stood open-mouthed and delighted, admiring the gold walls and floors and tapestries, exclaiming over and over again, "Gor, ain't it pretty? Gor, ain't it something then?" and did no cleaning at all. And while Meg was trying and failing at these many domestic chores, other important things were happening to the cat in the castle. The rat in the dungeon below was pacing and muttering in the darkness, waiting to take his revenge on the princess. And upstairs in the castle, the princess had met a mouse, and the mouse had fallen in love with her. Will there be consequences? You bet. Just as Meg's inability to perform any job well had its consequences. For finally, as a last resort, Louise sent Meg to the kitchen, where Cook had a reputation for dealing effectively with difficult help. In Cook's kitchen, Meg dropped eggshells in the pound cake batter. She scrubbed the kitchen floor with cooking oil instead of cleanser. She sneezed directly on the king's pork chop moments before it was to be served to him. "Of all the good-for-nothings I have encountered," shouted Cook, "surely you are the worst, the most cauliflower-eared, the good-for-nothingest. There's only one place left for you, the dungeon." "Eh?" said Meg, cupping a hand around her ear. "You are being sent to the dungeon. You are to take the jailer his noonday meal. That will be your duty from now on." Reader, you know that the mice of the castle feared the dungeon. Must I tell you that the humans feared it too? Certainly it was never far from their thoughts. In the warm months, a foul odor rose out of its dark depths and permeated the whole of the castle. And in the still, cold nights of winter, terrible howls issued from the dark place, as if the castle itself were weeping and moaning. "It's only the wind," the people of the castle assured each other. "Nothing but the wind." Many a serving girl had been sent to the dungeon, bearing the jailer's meal, only to return white-faced and weeping, hands trembling, teeth chattering, insisting that they would never go back. And worse, there were whispered stories of those servant girls who had been given the job of feeding the jailer, who had gone down the stairs and into the dungeon, and who had never been seen or heard from again. Do you believe that this will be Meg's fate? Gore, I hope not. What kind of story would this be without Meg? "Listen, you cauliflower-eared fool," shouted Cook. "This is what you do. You take the tray of food down to the dungeon, and you wait for the old man to eat the food, and then you bring the tray back up. Do you think you can manage that?" "I reckon so," said Meg. "I take the old man the tray, and he eats what's on it, and then I bring the tray back up. Empty it would be then. I bring the empty tray back up from the deep downs." "That's right," said Cook. "Seems simple, don't it? But I'm sure you'll find a way to bungle it." "Eh?" said Meg. "Nothing," said Cook. "Good luck to you. You'll be needing it." She watched as Meg descended the dungeon stairs. They were the very same stairs, reader, that the mouse Despereaux had been pushed down the day before. Unlike the mouse, however, Meg had a light. On the tray with the food, there was a single flickering candle to show her the way. She turned on the stairs and looked back at Cook and smiled. "That cauliflower-eared, good-for-nothing fool," said Cook, shaking her head. "What's to become of someone who goes into the dungeon smiling, I ask you?" Reader, for the answer to Cook's question, you must read on. Okay, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed.